What's going on, everybody? This is Snowman. Welcome to your companion video for my UFO 50 video that was just released on our channel. Of course, I love this game so much. As you can see, obviously put in so many stinking hours into this game. My longest video to date on the channel, and yet I still have more than I want to talk about. I want to kind of just go over every game and kind of go through what I liked, what I disliked. I just had some more extended thoughts, kind of give my overall impressions of each of the games individually. And just kind of maybe give it a little mini review along the way. So let's kind of dive in. I wanted to just kind of go through each game and just share a little bit of my thoughts on those. Let's start with Barbuta. Barbuta was not my favorite in the pack. There's no real splash screen here to kind of show you the gameplay, but it just dives you right in. It's the most archaic on purpose, but it's also really funny. You literally move to the right and get squished and die immediately. There's a lot of little like trolls and charm in that way, but I gotta say I just did not love the movement speed of this game. It's so stinking slow, it's ridiculous. Was not really enjoying it. I did cherry this game, but I kind of had a guide helping me along the way. You might see that a little bit throughout with some of these games where I'm not really afraid to look up guides. You know, my time is very precious to me. I want to be efficient with my gameplay. I can still very much enjoy a game even if I'm using a guide. But like I said in the video too, I also really utilize the community. If I got stuck on a game or if there was like one that I just was really not getting, I helped utilize the community to you know, the Discord, the Reddit, or like looking up secrets or ways to help. And I really recommend that for you as well. If you're like playing a game and you're like, I want to enjoy this, but I'm just not really getting it, use the community to your benefit. And I think Barbuta sets a really strong tone, like I mentioned in the other video. It wasn't my personal favorite, but I think it's a really important one in the pack. And so for that reason, you know, it definitely has a special place in UFO 50. Not my personal favorite though. Bug Hunter. I didn't really care for Bug Hunter at first. It's a kind of game that you really have to play many times to even understand what the heck is going on. You know, there's no instructions at all. It's just kind of like go, and I understand move and attack, but you know, the different modules you can buy on the other side, like there's a lot of different things that you need to just play a lot to even understand what's going on and what they do. And to even be half decent at this game, you really need to have a pretty deep understanding of the mechanics. So it took a few hours of like actually learning and understanding what's going on, but once I really kind of did pick up what's going on in Bug Hunter, I did enjoy it. It kind of reminded me of Into the Breach, which is just kind of that like tactical strategy game. You really have to think out every move, think like 3 steps ahead kind of thing. And once I got it, I really was enjoying it. I did do the 3-day streak on this. I didn't do the 6-day streak, which is the cherry for this. I might go back and do it. I'm still at 3. I haven't lost the streak or anything, so I might go back and do the 6-day streak. I just haven't yet. But it grew on me over time. It's definitely one of the more obtuse games in the pack. You definitely need to really kind of spend some time investing in it. But once you do, I think some people really enjoyed it. It just takes a little more care than some of the other ones. Ninpek, though. Ninpek right away was a game that I really enjoyed. Yeah, there's the music. Ninpek is right up my alley. It's obviously a platformer, so that was already more just my realm and something that I enjoyed more, so I liked it right off the bat. I think it's a funny game that you finish it, I got the gold ending, and then it just throws you right into loop 2 right away, and it's like, all right, now do it again, and everything's harder. Good luck, you know, and you just go. The way it moves you automatically is really interesting to me. Like, you're not in full control of your character because you're having to deal with the other stuff while you're already moving, and then you just move faster. Yeah, it's kind of a chaotic game. Looking at it right now, just looking at the splash screen here, but I really enjoyed it, and it's one that if you just spend a little bit of extra time with it. Oh, and this is cool. I love how it teaches you that as the ghost. This is the thing I didn't mention in the video. The splash screens teach you a lot about the game, like hidden mechanics, which is my bread and butter. One of the whole reasons I love the pack so much is all the hidden mechanics. And that does that right there, where when you're a ghost and you're coming back down, you can shoot some projectiles to kill enemies. And like, as soon as it showed it right there, as soon as you leave being a ghost, you're no longer invulnerable. You die immediately. So you really got to use your ghost projectiles to kill enemies and clear a path. And I just think that's kind of like a cool little added mechanic. You're invincible as long as you're a ghost, but the second you click off it, you're not invincible anymore. So I enjoyed Ninpek a lot. I think that's a really good game. Paint Chase. Paint Chase did not love, even though I golded it. That was, it's just, it's really long. I think Paint Chase is like 10 levels too long. I think it needs to be a lot shorter, concise, and just kind of pack in some of the mechanics quicker. There's a huge leap in difficulty in this one. It's like level 5 or something, where it makes you get 70% instead of like 50% of clearing the paint. And I think that's a big hurdle on purpose to make you go, okay, like this game means business, but the rest of the game kind of isn't really like that. It does get harder as there are more enemies and stuff, different varieties of things you have to look out for, but it's like the first one that just seems to be 70 for the sake of being just a big leap to just kind of throw you off, I guess. Which again, maybe there's something to be said of that's on purpose and just kind of setting the tone of the pack, but I didn't really enjoy Paint Chase as much. Again, I think, you have lives and you have extra tries and stuff, but it's just kind of extra punishing to go back and play the first levels again. Wasn't really one that I cared for as much, but, obviously I golded it, so it was enough that I played through it, but not a personal fave. And that's okay. Magic Garden also is another one that I think some people really enjoyed. I didn't love it, but once I actually did kind of like it when I got through and did a gold ending of it. It's just annoying that, like, one hit, you're dead. Immediately restart. There's no mercy. There's no second chances. And this is cool. The splash screen actually, like, is a tutorial. This is kind of the first game that's actually, like, a real tutorial about it, which is kind of interesting. They didn't really have to do that, I think, but maybe just give it a little charm, a little character. It's very simple. It's a very arcadey, simplified game. I think just the really fast, you can restart really quickly. That probably made it more palatable, because one hit dead like that, just boom, you're dead, start over immediately, but at least you can start again quickly, and it's pretty easy to kind of get in a flow state with this game. I was like really stuck and not getting like 30, 40 oppies, and then I just had a run that got all the way to the 200. So it's weird. It's kind of like once you get in a flow, it can really, everything just lock into place, but it takes kind of a little minute to get there where you feel comfortable. And so that was kind of my case with this game, where I was kind of beating my head against a wall for a hot minute, and then eventually it just kind of all clicked into place really fast. So Magic Garden, fun game, but not a personal fave, but I can see why people really enjoy it. And then if you see like the high score runs that people do of Magic Garden, it's insane. Like the hidden mechanics in Magic Garden really go deep. You can keep all the potions on screen and then get them all at once, purposefully not collect oppies and make them bad oppies, and then you just get an insane score. It raises the skill ceiling immensely, but it's actually pretty cool that that's a thing they do. Mortol, though. Mortol is probably a top 10, top 5 for me. I really liked Mortol. I'm going to switch the music here. Another one that just immediately caught me. Again, it's a platformer, right? So it's like, this is one that I'm obviously going to enjoy, but something about it just really spoke to me immediately. I really enjoyed the loop of it, the gameplay of it. Did not find the levels long or frustrating. I had seen that some people felt that way, but no, just immediately I got it right away, and it's just like, cool, it's like a puzzle. It's a puzzle platformer, and it just feels good to play. The way it adds stuff over time is really satisfying, and going back and clearing levels that you barely scraped by, and then being able to, I love that. See, it just teaches you, if you're like, how do I even get that guy? It shows you how to do it right there. Yeah, very satisfying game. Loved this one. I love that it just keep teaching me more and more things as I played. There's more stuff that unravels as you play. Really enjoyed Mortol. Like I said, probably a top 10. Really satisfying to go back and just make, like, to cherry this one to get the 75 lives. Seems insanely astronomical, but really satisfying to pull off. I did it with 80 at the end there. Velgress. Velgress is another one I really enjoyed, but another really brutal one. Like, this is like Magic Garden brutal, where one hit kills you, but at least the gameplay I felt more satisfying. It's just a platformer. It feels very downwell. You know, the joke of this one is we call it upwell, right? It's not made by Ojiru, though, believe it or not. This is a Derek Yu joint. We'll get to the creator of Downwell, Ojiru Fumoto. He did another one later in the pack, Seaside Drivve, which we'll talk about down the road. But Velgress, this is when I talk in the video about the level 2 difficulty spike. This is kind of the main one I think of. it took me forever to get past level 2, but once I did, level 3 and beyond, I really just, like, I beat the cherry ending, the 4th level, first try. And the 3rd level is so much easier. There's like a million platforms to land on. This one, you really got to watch out for the lasers, and it's really dangerous. And I think they used the splash screen on purpose here to do a level 2 to kind of show you a good way to do it. But really fun. Just the loop of it is enjoyable. The music got kind of annoying as you start over again, and it does that little it's like, oh my gosh, over the music. But I really liked this game. It's short and sweet. It is it's short, but you're still gonna spend a lot of time with this one because it's hard. It's a really hard game, but satisfying to beat for sure. I really like that one. Planet Zoldath, a lot of people didn't like. I'm gonna switch the music. Planet Zoldath. A lot of people didn't like this one. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's kind of relaxing to go straight from Mortol and Velgress and Magic Garden and Paint Chase to a really calm experience, one that's not so high intensity. You're just kind of walking around talking to aliens. And obviously there's enemies you have to avoid, and you've got to figure out the puzzle of getting the items. But I found it kind of, once you have like a seed that you're like, I see all the pieces, I just need to do it, feels good. I died a lot in Planet Zoldath and had to start over, but I beat it once at like 25 minutes, and then I got the cherry, went back and did 17. To do the cherry, I actually printed out a map. That there's like a resource online where people have a map where you can fill in what your squares are going to be. So I literally hand drew a map for this to beat it in the 20 minutes, which felt very satisfying. Felt like I was putting my brain to use. I see why people don't like it, for sure. Like, it's not very engaging from a gameplay perspective like a Velgress, but I still, again, maybe just the calmness of it. That's caramel. I forgot to pull up the actual gameplay, but I don't know why. I just kind of enjoyed it. Maybe it was just the like piecing together the different puzzle pieces and figuring out how to complete it felt satisfying to me. I'm not entirely sure why I enjoyed it so much, but I did. Planet Zoldath was good. Yeah, I don't have like much else to say. I felt like there was something else I wanted to say, but it's kind of weird. It's a weird game. Again, it can feel pretty obtuse. You don't even know what your goal is when you're first starting out. I'm just collecting pieces, and I don't know if it's something I want to do or what, but I enjoyed it more than other people for sure. Let's talk about Attactics though, because Attactics is a game that it's kind of the opposite. I think I saw a lot of people like Attactics, and I just could not wrap my brain around it, man. Attactics is just, it's a little above my pay grade. I'm not the best at tactics games anyway, and so the fact that it's so fast and timed, and I noticed, maybe it was my controller, maybe people are using keyboard and it's faster with keyboard, but I could not keep up. The things that I wanted to accomplish in a single turn before the timer runs out, I couldn't do everything I wanted to do in time, and maybe that's on purpose and they try to make it chaotic, but I don't know. It felt kind of frustrating to the point where it was like, I know the strategies, I know what I have to do, where I'm like stacking the 3 guys in a row and stuff and doing the different mechanics, but it just like, it kind of felt like you kind of just hope you get a good seed where you stack a bunch of guys in a row and let them go and hope that they don't get stopped by some other guys. But again, I'm totally admitting that it just is a me thing, and I just didn't really get Attactics. And it was more a skill issue on my end is basically what I'll say. I keep forgetting to click on these to show you the gameplay. Sorry about that, but I'll do that for the next one. Devilition, another one that at first I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like Devilition, but it grew on me tremendously. I beat it. This is the last game I beat. Like, of all the games, this is my 41st. Like, this is the latest one that I've completed. But it was really, really satisfying to beat. Another one that you really kind of got to understand, you got to wrap your head around what's even going on, but it's really satisfying to get all the way to the end and beat around 10. The final boss is really cool. One that makes you feel really smart and really dumb at the same time, where you put your huge elaborate thing together and watch it all blow up, and then somehow you like missed something and it went bad, but then maybe you still survive and you're like, whoops, okay, I gotta pay more attention. It's like you feel really smart when you have this big Rube Goldberg machine, and then when it doesn't work intended because you forgot something or messed up a piece or something, you're like, dang it, okay, what did I do wrong? You really got to kind of pay attention to this. The fact that it doesn't show you where every piece is going to hit, you have to remember and just kind of do a visual in your mind of where things are going to hit. And that's maybe the coolest part about this game, is that, well, plus the fact that you have to not only use pieces to kill enemies, but you also have to have empty spaces that they hit too. Otherwise, if it just hits enemies and it doesn't have any empty spaces with it, you have no pieces to, you can't place any pieces left. So there's a lot of deep strategy with this game. I really enjoyed it a lot, actually. Kit Club. Kit Club became one of my top 10, a personal fave, which I did not expect at all. Kit Club, at first, like you first play it and you're like, oh yeah, this is very arcadey, it's not really up my alley. I actually went and played Bubble Bobble just like 2 days ago, because this is really influenced by Bubble Bobble, and I kind of forgot how much it was when I played it, because I was like, oh yeah, no, this is like almost exactly Bubble Bobble, but good, because I played Bubble Bobble and I'm like, it has not aged great. It's clearly an NES game where this is like if it was good. And this one felt really enjoyable to get to the end and actually complete. This is another huge one where the World 3 is way easier than World 2. Once you get past World 2, you feel good and confident to move on and actually beat it. World 4 is really hard, though. World 4 actually is a pretty big jump. So getting to the end and actually beating this one was really satisfying. I got the cherry ending the same time that I got the gold. I got the high score first try, because I just got as many pieces as I possibly could, like the food. But I actually really liked Kit Club. Top 10 game, for sure. Avianos didn't really click with me, not really one of my favorites. But again, it's just like a personal taste thing. I'm not into like the strategy, civilization-esque aspect of it. But this is another one that's really obtuse when you first boot it up. You're like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm collecting bones, I guess. I beat the first, the easiest difficulty, but then I kind of just fell off it. It's just, I wasn't really, again, wrapping my brain around and enjoying it, but I can see why people would like it, especially if you're really into board games. Just not a personal fave of mine. But Mooncat, on the other hand, another top 5 for sure. Like, I think top 5 is probably going to be the ones I mentioned in the video, like a Mortol, a Mooncat, Party House. Honestly, Mini and Max is up there. It's really hard to pick a 5 because a 10 is a lot easier, but Mooncat's up there. It's definitely in the top 5. I loved it. Mooncat is so good. As I said in the video, the fact that it is literally you're learning how to play a platformer for the first time is something I never thought possible, but it is, and that's what it does. Is it makes you feel like you're playing for the first time. The controls are the whole thing. I think a lot of people are like, it would have been a good game if the controls were actually good, but like that's the whole point. It's a really simple platformer if it had good controls. So the whole point is the controls. And I think that's really unique, and I've never seen a game like that does that, where it's like the whole point is you got to learn the weird controls. Everything else is Mario. Like, look at this. You're literally just jumping on Goombas. Like, it's just a different control. And for that uniqueness alone and just its weird atmosphere, it's well done, it's beautiful, some of the best music in the game, it gets my huge stamp of approval. Loved Mooncat very much. Absolutely. Bushido Ball is another one that I didn't love. The only way I got the gold ending on this was when they patched it out now, but there was a way where you could beat it really easily by just lobbing the ball over your enemy and out of bounds every turn. And so I did that. It still is kind of hard. You have to like actually be able to do it skill-wise, but I played Bushido Ball, didn't care for it as much. It wasn't a personal fave. Whoops, I paused the music. But I could see why people would like it. It's very arcadey. I bet it would be super fun as 2-player, and I just haven't played it 2-player, but I could see why it would be really enjoyable with a friend. But yeah, just not like my personal favorite gameplay-wise. Pretty simplistic, and I just didn't... It's like Pong, So I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like, yes, you have the other, mechanics and power-ups and stuff, but it didn't jive with me as much, and that's okay. Still cool though, cool theming, and I like that, it has depth to it for sure, but it just didn't click with me as much, and that's fine. Block Koala. This is another example here of the reason I cherried this is following a guide, and I'm not afraid to admit that because it's just not my kind of game. I beat about 3 or 4 levels, 5 maybe, and then was like, yeah, it's already breaking my brain. There's no way I'm gonna beat it all. So just looked it up and used an afternoon to beat it. But again, cool to see the mechanics and see like how it evolves over the course of the game. Not a personal fave by any stretch of the imagination, but again, my brain, and you're gonna see this as the theming. The strategy games, the puzzle games are not really up my alley, but the platforming, the ones where you're moving around and stuff, those are the things I do enjoy. Now that said though, camouflage, I really like camouflage. Camouflage is short and sweet. It's probably one of the easier games in the pack. This and Big Bill Race, which we'll get to in a second, are probably the easiest in the game, especially easy to cherry. You just go and collect the 100% things. It was even more enjoyable getting the 100% because just getting through it to the end to get a gold is really easy, and fast. It's really short. It's a short game. Once you kind of figure out the pathing, your brain looks differently at this. Once you see, okay, I need to turn to this color through this pathway. This one's different because the gators are moving, but the ones where they're not moving, you just got to look for where the path intersects in a way that you're not going to get spotted. I like the idea of having the little buddy behind you because that adds an extra bit of challenge where you not only have to, there you get spotted. Not only do you have to take care of yourself, but you can't get spotted 2 blocks in a row, which I think that's pretty cool. You can save getting the little buddy as the last collectible of a level, because if you get it first, you have to carry him around the whole way, and I don't know. It was, again, short and sweet. A lot of people kind of wished it was longer, I agree, but for what it was, really cool, unique idea, and I really enjoyed it. Campanella is probably a crowd favorite. I think a lot of people really like Campanella. I do as well. Very enjoyable game. This was one of the very few exceptions where getting the cherry in Campanella was easier for me than getting the gold. Once I looked up just a little map of it, shows where the little coffees are, and again, there's another example of it showing you that in the splash screen, which is clever. It made it so much easier because the coffees give you so many extra lives. You just get tons of points, and so if you get all the coffees, you're gonna have 1,000,000 lives, and that is what made it possible. Because before, without getting the coffees, I was getting to World 4, and not having enough lives. It gets really hard, and so I kept dying and then having to restart the whole game. And so if you get all the coffees, dude, you're just cruising. You're basically just going through with infinite lives is what it felt like to me. So it was easier with the getting the coffees. That's what I recommend. Go for the cherry on this right away, and you're gonna have an easier time, which is really interesting. Most games don't do that. But it's still really fun. I enjoyed the mechanics. I loved everything it added. I liked the bosses. Campanella was a great game. Really enjoyed it. That's one of the good ones for sure. Golfaria, I didn't... I don't know, I have a love-hate with it, I guess. I appreciate Golfaria for what it is. I like the idea in concept of Metroidvania where you're a golf ball rolling around. I like that in concept, but in actual gameplay, it's annoying and kind of frustrating, and it's really long. This is a really long game. This is another one that if you're not going for cherry right away, it's going to be really annoying to go back and go for cherry because you're not going to know all the pieces that you collected. For example, if you're looking up a guide of here's where all the, golf clubs are to collect or whatever, you're going to be I don't know which ones I've collected and which ones I haven't. So that was annoying for me. I probably wish I just had done the cherry right off the bat, but at the time I didn't know that I was going to go for so many cherries. I kind of set that arbitrary limit for myself, the 50 gifts, 40 golds, 30 cherries. That was just an arbitrary thing I set late into my gameplay. So I had already beaten Golfaria and then had to go back and do the cherry. But I will say I really appreciate it for what it is. It's not really my favorite gameplay-wise. Once you get the breaks, it is significantly easier to control. So once you get that first power-up and you get the breaks, it's way easier to actually play. But this is one that has no instruction. There's pretty much no guidance at all of what you're even doing or what your goal is. So, and I know that's intentional and I get that that's why they did it on purpose, but it's kind of a frustrating game at first, and then the more the more strokes you get, the easier it is, and especially once you get the breaks. Once you have enough ability to explore, it's enjoyable, but at the start, this can be a frustrating one, and it didn't super click with me till the end, but that's okay. Like, again, I really appreciate it for what it was, just not maybe a personal fave. Big Bill Race, though, was probably the easiest game in the entire pack. I think this is easier than Camouflage. I think it's easier than pretty much any other game. It's basically an 8-track Mario Kart, like doing a Grand Prix, basically. Very easy, very simple. I got I got the gold in one turn, like in one round. Like, I never died. I got the gold in one try, and then I got the cherry the second try. And only because I didn't know what the cherry was, because it only tells you once you get the gold. But basically, you just have to finish in first place every race. And so I think I finished in first, 5 or 6 of the 8 first, and then I did all 8. And it's very easy. Once you get out in the front, you're pretty much in no danger, so you just go. Like, if you can get out in front right away, you're sitting pretty, and then just stay in front, and then you got it. It's very easy. This is the only one in the pack that's like so easy. I can't even necessarily say I enjoyed it. Like, it's fine. Again, this might be a really good multiplayer game. Probably super fun with friends. But from a one-player perspective, it was just very easy, hardly memorable, over and done kind of thing. Warptank, though. Really love me some Warptank. I'm actually going to do this song. Warptank is crazy good. Another top 10, maybe. This one always broaches the top 5. It's really close. I really enjoyed Warptank. It's more puzzle than platformer, but I still enjoyed it. The way it really makes your mind expand when you're thinking about how you can warp and change from horizontal to vertical, and you're using the diagonals and stuff. It almost felt like Portal, in that as you're playing, you're discovering new ways to traverse. And it's like, now you're thinking with Warptank is basically what it felt like as I'm playing this. It's like, okay, once I understand and can comprehend and cerebrally understand, okay, here's how I can warp around, Warptank is it's so good. Easy top 10 for sure. The boss fights were actually some of my favorite parts of the game. And there's only 2. So I wish there was more boss fights. I really enjoyed it. Getting the cherry on this was very enjoyable. You get all the coffees. They're even more hidden than Campanella. But once you get all the coffees, it unlocks a final bonus level, which I really loved. And the bonus level was very fun. So I really liked Warptank start to finish. Easy top 10. Waldorf's Journey became a favorite really late. So I cherried this one recently, and Waldorf's Journey, I really kind of cheesed it. This was one of the first ones I golded because I just kind of cheesed it, where you go all the way up to the very top of the screen, and I just blazed going to the right as fast as humanly possible, tried to hover, and hoped I got a bunch of fish that just gave me enough food so I could keep going. And I just really, really fast blazed as fast as I can, hoping I don't hit a wall and hoping I get fish. And then eventually I got lucky and just finished it. But then when I went back to get the cherry, you have to finish with 50 shells. So you pretty much have to play the game in the actual way that they intend once you do that. And it's so good. Waldorf's Journey is so good. I did not expect it to be so enjoyable. This is maybe one of the most relaxing games in the entire pack. Which seems ironic because gameplay-wise, it might appear like a rage game. It's trying to be like Jump King or like a Bennett Foddy game or something. But I don't think it's like that at all, honestly. I think it's really forgiving compared to other, rage games like that. There's so much more forgiveness. You have the food, so you can course correct. There's no course correction in Jump King. You can get the Puffin Birds so that you can try again. It's extra lives. Anyway, going for all the shells, you had to really understand the game's mechanics, and it was super, super enjoyable, start to finish. Really loved the music, calming. Waldorf's Journey was a pleasure to play. Very enjoyable. Porgy was also crazy good, man. Porgy was the first game that made me just go, oh, this is UFO 50. It's not just little arcade games. This is a full-on Metroidvania, but this one's not really a Metroidvania, I guess. It's more like a SteamWorld Dig, which is really interesting, where You have to get more fuel to expand your tank, and then you can go farther down. But just seeing how long this game is and how much content was in it, it's like, oh, like UFO 50 is not just, you know, Kit Club, it's Porgy, and it's Warptank, and it's Vainger. We'll get there in a second, but crazy enjoyable. This was maybe the first big game that I completed. Loved it start to finish. It did get a little redundant and grindy at the end, like it just felt a little annoying to get back down to the depths over and over. Like that got annoying near the end. The only other gripe I have with this is that you only have the 4 item slots, and there's a lot more than 4 that I wish I could carry with me, because some of them you need for progression gates. There's the missiles, or the, you know, rocket that shoots up above you, or the dash to dash through dirt. You need a bunch of those to reach the final boss, and so that takes up a lot of your spaces. And then when you're in the final level, you pretty much have to have the spotlight. You don't technically have to, but it's really hard to navigate without it. So that's like all 4 of your slots are already accounted for. You can't really even customize your build or take anything with you. And so I didn't like that. And getting to the final boss was annoying because it's a big slog and you can't really customize your build. So that's my only gripe. Like the very ending I didn't enjoy as much, but the whole first beginning, you know, however many hours. How many hours did I play Porgy? Like 5, 6, 7 hours? 5 hours, almost 6. Almost 6 to Cherry. So still really enjoyable though. Really liked Porgy. Onion Delivery. Did not like Onion Delivery at all. This is one of those ones where it's like, okay, I got the gift. That's good enough for me. Just beating 2 of the days. Onion Delivery is really frustrating to control, and I know it's that way on purpose, but wow, it's something. It's something, all right. The first day is fine, but then once it starts adding the other hazards throughout your day, it can get so frustrating. And I like intellectually that to refill your health you have to move fast. But wow, that push and pull of risk reward is really stressful. Like, you want to go slow so bad, but you can't go slow, otherwise you're gonna die. So you really just gotta, like, honestly, you gotta like learn the map, and I did not learn the map. So I'm sure if I dedicated enough time, I could learn and do well in this game. I just didn't want to put in the effort. It wasn't one that I enjoyed a whole ton. Caramel, man. It's like, I wish that this one was good. I wanted Caramel to be good so bad, because honestly, I liked pretty much every other shmup in the game except maybe Star Waspir. And I really wanted to like Caramel. I like the idea of you're taking a picture of enemies to make them weak. I think that's really cool. I like it conceptually a lot, but the big downfall with Caramel is if you die, you have to start the whole level over. And these are long levels. This is like a 5-minute level, it feels like. So to die on the final boss, which you likely will, because that's the hardest part of the level, and then go all the way back. There's no mid-level checkpoints. If this just had a mid-level checkpoint, I think it would be saved all of its grief. Did not enjoy it because of that alone, and that's too bad, because I wanted to like it. There's some deep depth in the mechanics here of when you're taking pictures, but it's too unforgiving. This is one of the ones that I felt was too unforgiving, which is too bad because I wanted to like it really bad. Now, Party House, though. Let's talk about Party House, yo. Party House is arguably my favorite game. Honestly, it might be my favorite game. I'll say top 3 are Mooncat, Mortol, and Party House. It's so stinking good. I'm gonna put on the small party. I couldn't gush about it enough in the video. Honestly, there was way more I wanted to talk about in the video, but it would have bogged down the whole experience. So I didn't even touch on all the things I wanted to touch on in Party House. There's so much depth to the mechanics. I don't know. I love the idea. Like, I went back and played this for footage for the video to just get some extra characters that I didn't have footage of. And it's so enjoyable. This is a game I could play forever, which is not something I ever thought. Sorry, the music was not playing. It's not something I thought I would enjoy at all, because it's like a deck builder, and I don't really like that, but it's such a unique idea. It's like the way it's presented, right? Because if it was a little literal card game and you're building a deck, I feel like I wouldn't enjoy it as much, but it's not presented as a deck builder. It's presented as the party planning, and I just think that's really unique. Love the concept. Easily a top 3, maybe my favorite game in the whole pack. Loved Party House. Hotfoot did not enjoy really kind of at all. Hotfoot is fine. It's not like there's really anything wrong with it. It's kind of like the Bushido Ball where I just didn't really enjoy it. But it's more annoying than Bushido Ball because you're controlling 2 characters at once, kind of. Like, one's a computer, but then you can change to control the other character. And I found it very annoying that the same button to pick up a beanbag is the same button to switch character. So you go to pick up a beanbag, but if you're not close enough, you switch, and then you're not even controlling that guy anymore, and then you get hit by the computer. And it felt really clunky to play, and it might be one of the ones... I mean, there's a few that I didn't enjoy very much. This is one of the bottom of the barrel ones. I got the gift, which is beating 3 matches, but I feel like beating 6, it would just drive me crazy. I just did not enjoy it very much, and maybe there's something I'm missing, but it felt annoying to control. Maybe I need to explore more of their special abilities. I always pick the one that just did the wave. It's like a big wave across the entire match, and I think that was my favorite, but maybe I need to explore some better ones. I don't know. I couldn't really wrap my head around it. Didn't care for Hotfoot very much. Divers. I, again, also enjoyed more than I thought I would. There isn't much, actually, kind of like music of Divers. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. I did enjoy it, but at the same time, I go back and think about Divers, and there wasn't a whole lot going on. It just kind of... You're just exploring around, and a lot of people were saying like that's the whole point of Divers, is the calm exploration part of it. I didn't enjoy that really, and so instead this was just going down to the very bottom depths over and over and over once you're at the end game, trying to be prepared enough to beat the final boss. And so it felt a little grindy, especially the very beginning is very grindy. Both the RPGs are grindy. I didn't enjoy the loop of it very much, but I enjoyed it more than I thought. I guess like when I first played it, I'm like, I'm going to hate this game. I didn't hate it, but by the end, there wasn't a whole lot to call home about. It's just kind of a very mid experience. It was fine. I was into it when I was playing it, but now that I'm done with it, I'm not going to play this one again for sure. Getting the cherry was very easy. You just have to get the little 3 heads that are the emblems that are on the outside of the map. It's fine. It's very mid game. Rail Heist was let me find I guess we'll do like this one. Is that the song I want? Yeah. Okay. Rail Heist. I talked about Rail Heist in the video because it is such an unbelievably mechanically deep game, and I love it for that, but I'm also really bad at Rail Heist. Like, it's probably the game of the 4 that I mentioned in the videos to start out that I enjoyed the least. However, I can still just appreciate and understand its mechanics on a deep level. I think it's a really cool game. I think it's a huge accomplishment for the pack, and I really appreciate what it is. I just, again, skill issue-wise, I just am really bad at it. But it was really cool to go through and still see the different ways I could complete a level. And I like that it added the new mechanics like that, like the quick draw or the double jump. There's different things you can get in packs. And it's fun once you figure out the puzzle of, okay, how do I complete this? And then once you pull it off, it feels really satisfying. Again, this is one I just appreciate for just what it is, right? It's like knowing what it is doing, I really appreciate versus like if I'm actually good at it or not. Vainger, though. Vainger might have the best music in the entire game. And it was a very, very enjoyable Metroidvania for me. I forget the name of the NES game, but it's very clear it harkens to that NES game where it does the gravity switch. Wish I remembered the name off the top of my head, but it's clear that like that's the inspiration. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw it, other than obviously like VVV. But Vainger's really enjoyable. I liked the The added thing that I loved about this is the different power-ups you get where you can reorganize them in such a way. Yeah, these right here. So you get different abilities based on how you move your modules around. And I think that's what made this game extra special to me. If it was just a gravity Metroidvania and you can switch gravity and you can go on the ceiling, that'd be one thing. But the fact that you can switch your modules around and you use that to be able to progress in different ways, I found very satisfying. Fun start to finish, really enjoyed it. The only gripe I had is it actually got pretty easy by the end. If you put your modules on triple shot, fire shot, you can pretty much like cream any boss you come across. You just destroy them, they just melt. And so I found it very easy at the end because almost every boss does not require you to do a certain loadout. So I can just always do the triple shot fire, and I just melted a lot of bosses. But other than that, super, super fun. Easily a top 10, maybe a top 5 even. Vainger is really, really good. Rock on Island is another example of one that I didn't personally click with as much, but I really appreciated for what it is. I'm not super into tower defense games. However, once I was going, I mean, you saw I got the cherry, so I had to go back and do every single level. I beat the whole game and then went back and got those perfects. But the hardest part about Rock on Island is the first wave or two. If you don't know how to successfully clear the first couple levels without taking any damage, that's going to be the hardest part. And then once you have enough economy going and everything's flowing, you're cruising and it feels fine. But it's just kind of the beginning that's the toughest part. And so that's maybe what I found most frustrating, is just solving the initial puzzle of how to survive long enough. Because you got to decide when is enough cavemen around that I can start investing in chickens. And that's a tough dilemma to kind of solve, but once you solve that, it feels fine. Feels good. Again, just not like a personal genre of mine that I love, but I definitely appreciated what Rock on Island did. Pingolf, another one that surprised me with how much I liked it. Didn't think I would enjoy Pingolf as much as I did, but I really did. It's really hard. It can be very aggravating if you're on a good run and then you get one hole that just throws off your entire especially like if you're going for cherry and you need to get below 0, like negative score. That's really tough. But loved it. Loved the added concept of you can dunk your ball. That alone like made this so unique, and I think it's a really fun one. This probably would be really fun to play against a friend where you're competing to get a high score. It was fun to kind of learn what that's like, dude, that's freaking cool, man. Use that dunk to gain some fire in a fast. There's cool hidden stuff like that in Pingolf. I really enjoyed the hidden mechanic of it. And just kind of solving that puzzle of what's the way to get through this fastest. Very enjoyable. Can be frustrating, but I really liked it. Mortol 2 was also very, very good. Liked me some Mortol 2 a lot, obviously because I liked Mortol, and then this is, like I said in the video, reverse Mortol. Really liked solving the puzzle of that. The fact that it's one giant level versus a bunch of small levels. It's like the whole thing is flipped on its head, and I love just that this feels like a perfect sequel, to be honest. Like, if there's we talk about perfect sequels in the real world, this feels like a perfect sequel, where it feels like Mortol, but it's totally different. It's like completely different. And yet it just feels so satisfying to get farther each time. Because every time I played this, I'm like, oh, I ran out of guys. But then I felt like I know all the ways I could improve and do better next time. And so it feels really satisfying to go through and do better each and every time, get farther, end with more and more guys. Really great game. Love this one. Very, very enjoyable. Like, it's hard to say if this was a top 10 just because I loved Mortol 1, and it feels weird to have Mortol 1 and 2, but this could easily be a top 10. Here's the problem, is I probably have 20 top 10s, and I think that's the real problem of it, right? So anyway, Fistel. Did not enjoy Fistel as much. To be fair, I also didn't really give it the proper go that I could have, but I was not really enjoying it mechanically. I'm not big into beat 'em ups, but also I don't like that I try to go hit an enemy and I'm like 1 pixel too tall and I'm not hitting him, and then they can always hit me, and it's like that felt annoying. It wasn't like super rewarding to play, and even doing the gift where you have to survive a certain number of waves in the gym, that I was like, that was enough. I saw enough of Fistel. I wasn't really into it. But again, if you're super into beat 'em ups, I could see why you would really enjoy it. Not really my cup of tea, but that's okay. You know, just not up my alley. Overbold, I enjoyed a lot. This is a tricky one because the first 6 waves or 7 waves are so easy. If you just do no reward and you just like, you can clear it, no problem. But then that final wave, you know, is coming and it's going to be really hard. So you really do have to push your luck of like, what can I handle? It was rewarding to be like, okay, I'll increase it 1 more jump up on this round, and then I'll increase it 1 more again, and then okay, I can handle 1 more extra wave. And once you get in the loop of, I got enough money that I can buy a really good power up, and so now I feel even more equipped to handle a bigger load on the next one. And that loop of when you're super decked out, it felt really good to gold this one, because when I got to the final level and I just beat the final stage, it was like, yeah, that I felt like I invested in myself enough that I powered up enough to be able to do it. Very cool. I enjoyed it. I could probably do a little more with it. Like I could probably investigate more in Overbold, go for that cherry ending, but I haven't yet. But I enjoyed it. It was definitely a good one. Not a personal fave, but like I can appreciate what it is, and it was pretty fun. Campanella 2. Campanella 2 is like a love-hate thing, especially just within the community. I think a lot of people wanted to love Campanella 2 a lot. Excuse me. Oh, sorry, I needed some water. I'm talking so long, it's hurt my throat. Campanella 2 is the one that I joked is Spelunky 3, and I really do feel like this has the obvious Spelunky influence. Hilariously, this is not made by Derek Yu. This is an Eric Circa joint. He made all 3 Campanellas. In fact, Eric made like almost all the ones that I loved most in this pack, which is really impressive. The only thing that I think could make this game better is to have better fuel economy. The way that the fuel does not, like, it runs out so fast. That's my only gripe with this game, is just that the fuel is the most annoying part by far. You got to manage your health too, but that's just like learn and do better and don't get hit, right? The fuel, sometimes you just feel like you're out of luck. The way the level geometry is placed, sometimes you just get totally screwed. I feel like I got really lucky when I got the cherry ending on this. It took a long time. This is another one I'm curious of how many hours I put in Campanella 2. Oh, that's... yeah, here we go. Okay, this is 8 hours of playtime. 8 hours to get the cherry ending. Yeah, I was gonna say that's just how long the run was, but 8 hours to get it, because sometimes you just get a bad seed, and it feels bad when it's stuff out of your control. But I actually really enjoyed it. I had the Spelunky mindset going into this one, which was sometimes I'm gonna have runs that are just bad, just bad runs, and it's just kind of out of my control. And it's bizarre because that feels like bad design, but there's something about Spelunky and just the mindset of Spelunky where you just kind of accept that, and then if you get a good run, feels good, man. I don't know. It might just be my bias and love toward not Campanella 2, but Spelunky that made me enjoy Campanella 2. Hyper Contender is cool. Kind of frustrating, honestly. I wanted to cherry this one really bad. To cherry this, you have to beat the game with 4 separate characters. I believe I beat it with 2. And the 2 that I beat it with are characters that are mildly enjoyable to control. The rest are really annoying to control. And so that's the problem, is the rest all have really unique control schemes. Like this guy only does giant leaps. He can't just do like a regular jump. It's like a charge up jump. If you have a character that's easy to control, this game's fun, but having to master like 4 of the ones, and a lot of them I just did not jive with. This was annoying to get really deep in the game and die and have to start all over. So if you don't know, if you lose a match against an enemy, you can do 1 rematch, but if you lose the rematch, you start the whole game over. So I would get to like round 7, because it gets the AI just gets harder and harder the more you play. So I would get to like round 7, and then you know, I would lose the rematch and have to start over. And it's one that I lost, and I just felt my body being so tense, my blood boiling, and I'm like, I need to take a break from this game. So I enjoyed it for what it is. It's really unique. It's kind of like a Smash Bros-esque collect the rings. It actually reminded me of, in Shovel Knight, they released Shovel Knight Showdown. It was like the fighting game of Shovel Knight. That's what it reminds me of most, actually. And I enjoy it for what it is, but it can be frustrating for sure. Valbrace. Another one that I really appreciate for what it's doing. It wasn't like a personal favorite genre-wise, but like really, you know, I cherried it. So like I enjoyed it enough to do that. But it can be annoying to die and have to start a whole round over. Honestly, the thing that helped me the most is I did have a map. Like if I know you can do a map, you can like do a spell that shows you the map, but it only like a small chunk of it. I just on another screen had a map fully accessible, and that made this very, very palatable versus what I think would have made it a lot more annoying. I actually, now that I'm like kind of looking at it and getting back in the vibe of Valbrace, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And I think that made it way more enjoyable that I had a map. And maybe that's, you know, looking up a guide, maybe that's cheating or whatever. But again, it just made it way more enjoyable. It's kind of like in Vainger too, because Vainger is another one that I wish I had the map accessible at all times. And so having a map like on another screen just makes the whole experience, like especially when you're going back for that 100%, going back getting all the items, or like in Valbrace, you really have to make sure you do a specific set of instructions to get the cherry. Having a map just makes all those games so much more enjoyable. And I know they didn't do that on purpose to make it feel like a game of the era, the limitations, etc. But it just made it more enjoyable. So I enjoyed Valbrace with a map. I recommend it too. If you're like, I want to like Valbrace, but I'm not liking it, use a map. Just look up a map. It'll make it way more enjoyable. Rakshasa, I have a love-hate relationship with as well. It is fun. I say hesitantly. It felt very satisfying to gold. This is a game that I mentioned in the video about like using the terminal codes to practice. This is one that I felt like made it possible for me to beat, was having that practice code. Because in this one, you can, every time you die, you only have the one single thing to avoid when you're doing the little mini game to get back to life. It never goes more than one other thing to avoid. So it basically is like having infinite lives. So that made me be able to just go through and see all the way to the ending. And then I went through and beat it for real. And I think that made it a lot more satisfying of like knowing what's coming, not getting blindsided by some stupid thing. The thing about, honestly, Rakshasa I feel like would be a phenomenal game if it weren't for those stupid birds that shoot the psychic things at you. And actually, it honestly can be really frustrating to get a game off the ground once you're like past World 1 and you're in the frogs, the little frogs that are in the tunnel in World 2. Once you get past that, you're kind of golden, but it's getting a run that far can be frustrating because sometimes you just get hit by some BS that just like feels, you know, maybe it's I'm rushing through or I'm wanting to just get past it or whatever, but you know, it can be really annoying to feel like you just get like bombarded with something. But again, kind of love-hate. I liked it, but going for this is like maybe of any of the ones that I don't have cherry on, this is probably most likely for me to get cherry. But at the same time, I'm not like getting a 50k score on this. All it does is makes it more tedious. It's just Rakshasa, but more tedious because you just have to go back and get more gold. And so I don't know if I want to do that, but maybe I will. Still enjoyed it. I liked Rakshasa for what it was. Appreciate it nonetheless. Star Waspir. Did not like, really. I surprised myself because very first run, I knew that you have to get a score multiplier to get the gift, and you build the letters eggs to get it. And so, actually not first try, I guess. Like, you know, I booted it up to see what it was and just hopped off in like 1 minute. But then I came back once I knew that, and I got the gift right away. I was actually doing really good. Got like a huge score multiplier, and I was doing really good. Got to wave 3, and that's the part that everyone says is like the hardest part of the game by far. Wave 3 is like insane, and then if you get past that, you can probably beat the game. But it's It's really hard. A lot of people say it's one of the hardest in the whole game. Probably not my cup of tea. I liked a lot of the other shmups. I'm going to get to them here at the end. Most of them are the bottom row. But, you know, again, just not really up my alley, but that's okay. Like, it's just, I can appreciate it for what it is. Some people enjoyed it. I did not. Let's talk about Grimstone. Grimstone is a gigantic RPG. I think I played this for 20 hours, give or take. I'll check in a second, but actually really enjoyable. I didn't think I would enjoy Grimstone as much as I did, but it's an addicting RPG. The grinding is the only thing I didn't enjoy as much, but it's the loop is satisfying. Going to a town, grinding around the town to gain levels, and then putting your skills to the test in the dungeon, trying to beat it all in one go with what you got, like, you know, what you pack with you, and hope you're prepared enough, and beating that boss, like, it can be really satisfying. So I actually really enjoyed Grimstone. It's pretty well done. It put me back in that vibe of if you know, when you just get into an RPG and you just feel like you're invested from start to finish. I felt that way with Grimstone, which really surprised me because, again, not usually my vibe. I'm not super an RPG guy, but yeah, it's just fun. It's engaging. Upgrading your guys feels good, and there's a lot going on. It probably could have been a little shorter. They didn't need to make a 16-hour RPG, but they did, and you know, good on them. It did not need to be. Like, they could have shortened it by a world, but they just kept doing it. So there you go. Lords of Diskonia. Lords of Diskonia, I actually enjoy a lot. I have not beat it yet. This is another one that I'm probably close to golding. I think I've beat 7 of the 10 scenarios. I really like it. I like the gameplay. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But at the same time, the enemy AI can be super. Feel like they're cheating, where they just have this insane combo where they and just like go in your camp and kill everybody. But it's a fun game. It's a fun game. I didn't know how I felt about the overworld map aspect of it. The fact that you go around and you're collecting gold and units and spending them and getting upgrades. I don't think I liked that part as much. I just would have liked this. If it was just this and you're just going level to level, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more. And the reason is, every scenario, which is, there's 10, feels like it's basically 4 or 5 of these levels. So every scenario is really long. It's kind of a big investment. You're investing like 45 minutes plus an hour sometimes into one level. And I just kind of wish it was just this. And it's just, hey, here's your units. Can you beat these units with what you got? And it didn't really, like, I get they want to leave the choice up to you, I guess, and have you build your team or whatever. But I kind of wish that aspect wasn't a part of it, or at least they found a way to streamline it. So, because it just kind of dragged on, because you beat a match and then the enemies go all the way back to their town or to their castle, get more units, and then you got to do it again. And that part didn't feel very satisfying to me. I wish that it was just this. That's my own personal gripe about this. Did it even play the battle theme, or did it just kind of? Oh, that's why I hit the wrong one. Darn, this is like some of the best music in the game. I meant to play the battle theme. I played the wrong one. My bad. That's okay. Night Manor, though. I'm gonna leave this music going just because I love the Lords of Diskonia music. But Night Manor again is like another one that actually no, I do want to do. There isn't really like much music in Night Manor anyway. I'll just leave Lords of Diskonia up. Night Manor is so impressive for what it is. Another one that feels like it's not my type of genre. I'm not really big into point and click, but I can super appreciate what it's doing, and it's a really well done point and click. And the fact that it's a horror game and it's like pixel art, right? So it's not scary, right? But at the same time, like when your controller's shaking and your guy is like you feel it. I don't know. It just is. There's something about it that feels really satisfying mechanically of what they pull off here of avoiding the killer. And it's not that the killer's like scary necessarily, but just, I don't know, mechanically, it's just a really the atmosphere in this game is freaking good. It's really good. And the puzzle solving of using items and stuff is also satisfying. So I really enjoyed Night Manor. Probably a top 10. Even if like it's not I love the game, just for appreciating what it is. I really appreciated Night Manor. Elfazar's Hat. Another one with really good music. Love the music in Elfazar's Hat. I really liked this game a lot, more than I thought I would. The rest of the shmups I really enjoyed. This, Seaside Drivve, Campanella 3 were all super good, super enjoyable. Yeah, this minigame thing in Elfazar's Hat is kind of weird. I didn't even know how to access this. I had to look it up, that there are hidden tickets in the level, and if you get the tickets, you can do this bonus level, because that's how you get the gift. But yeah, I cherried this one. I really enjoyed it. Very fun. I like once you kind of get your build of getting the cards you need to have the good power-ups you like. It feels good, and then you just feel empowered, and like you can beat some enemies, and then when you die, you're like, shoot, I gotta kind of like pay attention now and wing it a little bit, and then once you get built back up again, it I don't know, it's just fun. This is a good, satisfying game. Fun bosses, good levels. It's kind of just enjoyable start to finish. I pretty much have nothing bad to say about it. Yeah, again, enjoyed it more than I thought I would, for sure. Pilot Quest. Again, love-hate, right? The idle game aspects of it, I'm glad I knew ahead of time that that's what it was, so I could do the idle stuff while I played other games. I feel like it would be really frustrating if I played these all in order and then I got to Pilot Quest near the very end of the game and was like, oh, well now I just gotta like sit around and wait for gems to collect. So I'm glad I knew ahead of time. I feel like that would be annoying for other players that didn't know ahead of time. Going through the Wild Zone is fine. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. This was kind of just a quirky, all its own game. Like there isn't another game that's like Pilot Quest really, except maybe Planet Zoldath, which I guess is kind of like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I could see why that's like this is like a spiritual successor kind of. Again, fine. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. It just is kind of an idle game. So it's like, you know, do you like idle games? Because if you do, you might like it. It was okay. Kind of a mid experience. But it was kind of, it did feel a little satisfying, like once you kind of get your economy flowing and you just start getting the resources. But then at the same time, you're just kind of waiting around for those to gather. So it's not like it's satisfying necessarily, but exploring the wilds is kind of cool. Like that was the only real enjoyable part of the game for me, is going around the wild part. Mini and Max though, dude. Mini and Max, easy top 10, probably nearing top 5, because as I didn't expect to like it as much when I first played it, but once I got going and really started understanding what I was doing, because this is another one where you don't really know what your goal is, you're just kind of exploring. So I was getting a bunch of stars and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But then once I had just that final push of, okay, once you get the power up and you can shrink down again, the whole game becomes your oyster, right? And it's a whole thing. So this game is huge. It might be one of the biggest games in the entire pack. And it's really fun to explore every area. It's really cool. Yeah, just a unique idea. Really cool, unique concept. And I love how they just kind of play with the idea of like if you're interacting with microscopic beings, and just all the different power-ups you get and stuff. And there's so much to do, so many quests. This game's gigantic. Another one that if you play this one and you really get into it and you know what you're getting into, you're like, I can't believe the amount of content in UFO 50. And this is the prime example, in my opinion. Yeah, there's just a lot of good in Mini and Max, for sure. Definitely a top game. Combatants, though. Oh boy, did not like this one at all. I did 7 of 12 missions, as you can see, which is probably more than I needed to. Did not like this at all. A lot of people don't. This is usually the one people hate the most in the entire game. And I know it's made that way on purpose. It's kind of like Onion Delivery, where it's like it's bad and that's the whole point. But that didn't make it enjoyable to play. It's a game where your character is so underpowered and the enemies are so overpowered that the whole point of the game, the only way I can kind of discern the point of the game is to just cheese the game, which I don't care for. Like the whole point is hide around a corner and try to lure a guy and kill him without him touching you. And it's just annoying. It's frustrating to control. Your units don't really follow your orders very well. You have to be really close to them for them to hear you. And then the red guys can really easily just snowplow you. Like, if they touch you, you're just dead. And even just this process here of building your units, and it just is clunky and slow, and it's annoying, and the red guys always cream you, so it's just kind of like you want to avoid them. It's not even like, okay, I have enough units to beat them now. It's like, I could beat the whole level with one guy. I just gotta like cheese it the whole way. And again, it wasn't like satisfying, but unique. And again, I know it's there on purpose. Like, I know it's there for a reason, and so it's just kind of an interesting inclusion. I think maybe that there might be more of like a lore thing with combatants and like the whole metagame of UFO 50, which I won't really touch on in this video because I want everyone to explore for themselves. Quibble Race is weird. It's not really super enjoyable. It feels random, but this is like the betting game. It's like just a random thing. It's weird, and there is strategy, I guess, but it felt very random. Like, me getting the cherry felt luck based. But I could see this being really fun with friends, or like a stream game where you could have chat bet on a quibble or something. Like, it seems like it's kind of just a quirky, fun multiplayer game. You're literally just betting on quibbles. There's not a lot to say about it. There's different stuff you can do to sabotage other characters, and it's kind of fun. But it is what it is. It's not like my super favorite. Seaside Drivve, though, is crazy good. Another one that I think is a top 10. Didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did, but I did. Once you get past like World 2, this is another one where it's like once you get past that, crazy fun. It's super enjoyable. It's pretty short. I think there's only 4 worlds in this one. This one, Campanella 3 and Elfazar's Hat are all good examples of, if you play well, you're rewarded with more lives, which just makes you more survivable. So it's like, if you get good enough, you're not just going to do better because you're better at the game, but they're genuinely going to give you more 1-ups and more lives and more chances for survival. So if you can, like, in Seaside Drivve, the way you do that is you have to beat a level without dying once. So if you beat this very first level without dying, you get a bonus game, and if you get the coin, you get an extra life. And that alone just makes you more survivable, and it just helps you moving on. And I think the third world is pretty easy to do that as well. So you can beat the third world without dying and get another life. And it's a game where if you're playing good enough, or at least you learn mechanics enough that you're able to survive just one round, it helps you out. It kind of gives you an extra little boost and says, hey, I'm going to help you out. But it's very fun, very enjoyable. I love the gimmick of drifting to charge up your car. Campanella 3, also very enjoyable. I liked this one a lot. Didn't think another one, it's like I'm not super into shmups, so I didn't think I would, but really enjoyed it. This is another one where you give it enough dedication, and it's very satisfying to feel like you're making progress. This is kind of the main one I'm thinking of when I say that the World 2 boss is really hard, but if you get past the World 2 boss, you're just, everything's gravy, you're fine. It's also very satisfying to find out how to get 100% to beat a wave, where you actually kill every enemy. Because when you get 100% on at least one wave, you get the bonus stage, so you get an extra life. And again, satisfying. It just feels rewarding, where it's like I'm playing good and I'm rewarded for it. It's not just playing good for the sake of playing good and like now I'm gonna beat the game or whatever. It's like, no, let me help you out, and I'm gonna give you an added boost. Yeah, really liked this one. This one was also satisfying to beat. I got to the final world and beat it. Like when I got to World E, which is the last world, I beat it first try, and it was very satisfying to be like, okay, like the thing I talked about in the video of feeling empowered and feeling like you can overcome. This was maybe a prime example of that. Last but not least, Cyber Owls, everybody. Let me get that level up. What's the best Cyber Owls song? Octavio, I guess? Probably Octavio. Cyber Owls is cool because it's 4 games in one. Really, it's 5 games in one, because if you lose a character, you can go rescue them. I only rescued someone once, I think, because that's the gift, right? Is rescuing someone. I think I grinded that out to get once, but it's really hard. The rescue missions are almost harder than the main levels. But this game's really fun. This game's really satisfying. It's cool how it's all the different gameplay styles built into one. I like the little 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up ones probably best, or maybe the motorcycle guy the best. But other than like the Metal Gear sections, which I didn't enjoy as much, I think I really liked all of it. The other guy, what's the guy where you're looking and it's kind of like a 3D, you're shooting the only other one of that gameplay style. That one was hard. It was just kind of like stressful, but overall, the fact that it's just kind of a package that's built together, this is one that was very tense. When you beat the first 4 missions and you go to the final mission and you have to do each character again, it's very tense and it feels like, oh, I can't lose, otherwise, you know, I have to start the whole game over, and you're like, oh, okay, like, am I going to be able to do it? And again, I think it's one where, other than like the second boss of this character, the like doctor guy with a little needle and he chases you, that's a really hard boss. Other than that, like the final mission feels pretty doable. And so it was tense the whole way through, but it felt good to complete. I don't think I'll ever cherry this one. This is beating it without dying once. So it's like, holy cow, that's one of the harder cherries for sure. But I really like Cyber Owls, and it's another one that I played really early on in UFO 50 and was like, how am I ever going to beat this? But then once you just really get in the flow of beating these games, and you're like, I know now it just takes some dedication, and I just need to actually get through and beat some stuff. It's a very satisfying game. It really, and that's just the collection as a whole, right? It takes time and dedication to get through it, but if you do, you're gonna have a good time and you're gonna actually get through and beat it. Yeah, I mentioned a lot of my top games. I can't say enough good things about UFO 50. It's such a phenomenal game. There's kind of like an extra hidden meta game underneath, so hey, if you're into that, you can check that out. I'm not gonna like spoil stuff for you, but there's just so much to love in this package. It's one of the best deals in gaming history, but also I just think it's important. This is an important achievement for gaming, and I'm so impressed with what they pulled off. So hats off to Moss Mouth, not Mass Moth. Thank you for watching and listening to me ramble on for a long time. Hey, go play some UFO 50. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.